Okay, welcome back to Eden Zero Anime Review, episode number 6. This is reviewing the 6th episode of the anime, The Skull Fairy. Yep, that is the name of this one. Yep, this one finishes up with normal arc, which basically that's the rest of chapter 2, that's to 10 from page 12 up until the final page. Finishes up, goes to the entirety of chapter 11, and basically starts the very next arc, the Skull Fairy arc, which is only 3 chapters, which means that next week they're going to cap this arc off and start the Gildas arc. Yeah, this arc is really quick. Yeah, surprisingly, it's a very quick arc per se. I like the intro arc, surprisingly. It took up about 3 episodes. This arc probably will be just wrapped up by next week. Yeah, it's like really quick. Now, what happens this episode? Well, basically, here's what happens. Okay, so we pick up not long after events of last week's episode where Shiki defeated the leader of the cyber gang. So we have the gang just chatting, and the fact that, well, they mentioned the last person who repaired Pino was in fact Whis from 50 Years Future. So they need to figure out a way to get back to the future, and they think they'll leave this Whis behind. And it turns out the cops are after them. Why? Because they have no ID. So they flee to the surface. Oh yeah, and it's also shown that Whis has proceeded to follow them. Got on the spacecraft, and then of course, they don't know until they get to the edge, like, oh, they're about to be hit around by the police officers. He's like, hand over shit to me, basically, I'll get you guys out of here. And of course, Ruka does not agree, but Shiki agrees. So he's got ether gear. He proceeds to repair the ship, basically remodel it. Doesn't look much different per se. It makes it a little more feasible. And he says to Peter, "Oh, I also took time to fix your leg. Got rid of that stupid nail. Basically, fix your leg. Like, good job, Whis. That's fantastic." And of course, they get out of the atmosphere, and then they get a phone call from Professor Whis from the actual period of time. Yeah, it turns out that Norma is actually stuck in a time loop. Well, it's basically stuck 50 years in the past. The reason is because of a monster known as the Krona Monster. Which this thing apparently eats like plants' lifespan. Yeah, that's simple gist of this. They explain that's the reason why, and the Whis basically in the future is the one who escaped from it. So, yeah, no time paradox. Okay, interesting. So, and then they get cut off because space pirates show up. Yep, it's Elsa. Elsa Crimson shows up. And then we pull something directly out of frickin' Star Wars, where use a frickin' tractor beam to bring the spaceship inside of hers. Which, yes, that's a Star Wars reference, mainly to New Hope. And, of course, are trapped. And, of course, she says, what are you going to do? We're going to pillage, we're going to kidnap, whatever. And we're going to have to kill this thing. It's like, he's like, oh, is that a very nice place? And of course, Happy's like, no, it basically isn't. Not the one you're familiar with. The one here is basically a terrible place. It's the way to describe it's almost like the darker side of Coruscant, which means that yes, the writer basically took a lot of references for Star Wars. Obviously, we'll probably get a chance to see this particular planet in the very next. We might get a chance to see it at the very next episode. So Shiki's like, oh, I'm gonna basically beat up your crew, and I'm gonna plunder your ship, and I'm going to take it. Alice like, good luck. I'm on the second floor to the left. Okay. Like, is that a reference to Peter Pan? Like, second to the left. No, it was actually second to the right, but it's a mild reference to Peter Pan. Like, wow. First reference to Star Wars, not Peter Pan. And, of course, she goes out first, obviously. Beats a bunch of, zombie crew with tentacles. And, of course, Rebecca gets caught up in it. She, of course, is wrapped up in a very sexual way. And, of course, Whis, being a pervert, decides to lift up, not her skirt. You might be thinking this looks good. No, he lifts up her shirt. To possibly get a peek at maybe her chest or whatever. Though he's stopped. Happy gets angry at this. So he transforms into the Happy Guns. She proceeds to blast all of these crew members. Oh, yeah, and tries to get payback on Whis, but lifting up his shirt as payback. And then, of course, Shiki has basically made it to where Elsa is. And she's like, turns around, You're like, I'm Elsa Crimson. We see you look like a skull face. Yeah, they explain this in the very next episode. What happens? I'm not going to explain what it is, but it's quite a surprise about this particular form. Yeah, also, I thought it was so hilarious, though, that we refer to Elsa as pretty, which, yeah, definitely, I would definitely buy that because she's based on my freaking Urza from Fairy Tail. Urza basically has frequently been described as one of the most beautiful women in the whole entire series. And this one referred to this at, yeah, not surprised though, because Hiro Mashima tends to draw his own be smoking hot. I mean, look at Rebecca, she's hot too. But the only time Shiki's ever did anything to her sex was back in the pilot episode. But it's later hinted at in the most recent chapters that he's got a thing for her. Which is not surprising given the fact that, well, he's the only girl he's known the longest. Yep. And what a great ending to the episode, meeting with Elsa Crimson face to face. Also, what the heck is up with the whole, like, inside of, like, whatever the stuff is? Like, the Hiro Mashima basically pulled this from Alien. Yeah, this organics over the walls. Yeah, that's a reference to Alien. Not well, you're probably thinking, is this a reference to Star Wars, where, like, look, a cave full of organic stuff? For the original trilogy, no, not that I can think of. My guess is this is probably a reference to Alien. That's my personal guess when it comes to that. The tentacle arms and the whole thing with the tentacle stuff. That is old school Japanese anime, tentacle hentai. Though at least this thing is not designed to rip apart women's clothing. Hold them sexual positions per se, but not ripping apart their clothes. Normally that's what these things do, but not these. Nope, they just wrap her up. And, of course, Pino was not saved, surprisingly. Yeah, but I love this episode, and I can't wait for next week, which will wrap up this arc, because this is just a really quick arc. Yeah. So, that's it for this particular review. Now, yeah, that's pretty much talking about this. It's a great episode. Can't wait for next week. So, my next review is going to be a review of the newest episode of My Hero Academia, which I know has been released. I'm sure it probably has been released in a new episode. Of course, I'll review News Chat the manga with that one. One Piece, and then Boruto, and then that'll be pretty much it for today. Yeah, 3 more left, and that's it. So like yesterday, I'm hoping to get everything done, get my day off. So, yeah, so to the next video. Bye.